Alright, I'm David from Levika Photography, and today we'll be comparing the Sony a7R and the Sony a6000. Alright, so as you can tell right off the bat, they are roughly the same size, same depth, they have the same lens mount, same hot shoes, same menu controls on the back. But here is the biggest difference. Okay, so let me set this down. Okay, so right off the bat, 36 megapixels versus 24. APS-C size versus full frame. Okay, these are the best mirrorless cameras that you can get for your money. Actually, the best cameras that you can possibly get for your money, period. This one has a pop-up flash. This one has no flash. They both have viewfinders that are video, electronic viewfinders. This one is so bad that you leave it off because there's just no point to it. This one, however, is actually pretty good to the point where I don't mind using it. And if you're a traditional shooter moving over to a mirrorless camera, this camera here is much easier to hold up to your eye. Of course, I'm always wearing hats, so I like to use the back of the camera. But anyway, the biggest difference between the two here is this. Alright, so this is the a6000 shutter. Alright, and this is the a7R shutter. Now, you heard that correctly. The shutter moves twice. The shutter itself actually sounds like scissors to me. So I did a test on this, and there is no shutter shake. I can handhold this now down to 1/8 of a second with no problem, but I think what it is coming from these other cameras that were easier and quieter to use, and coming into this one, the audio actually makes your adrenaline spike a little bit, I think causing you to maybe react to it at first, but that goes away with use. That's one of the very minor issues that I have with this. Alright, image quality wise, the cool thing about this camera is that you can shoot with APS-C size lenses on here or full-blown manual lenses. Alright, so I use this lens to kind of compare the two of them. So on here I put it on, and it doesn't really vignette that much, which is, you know, kind of nice. It vignettes a little bit. But what it is, I cropped it inside the vignetting and then compared it to the image off of here. And, you know, basically, they're really close. I would say that this thing, now that I've actually got to use it for a while and use this one for a while, you know, technically on paper it's 33% more resolution than this, but in reality it's more like 10 to 12. It's not a huge jump. JPEG and RAW files they do both very well with. Same exact settings and functions on both. Video mode. This one only goes to ISO down to ISO 200 in video mode, but you have full control over everything while you're shooting. Yeah, you have full manual control, and you can adjust it while you're shooting. You do have microphone jacks and headphone jacks right there, just for video. On this one you can only use a microphone that plugs into the top of it and then use an external mic off of that, and the audio is just on and off. But other than that, you have full control on video. On this one it does go down to ISO 100. So why this is stuck at ISO 200 in video, I have no idea, but it is. Okay, 1000 has this hybrid autofocus system, and it is so fast. I come from the world of view cameras, 4x5, and Hasselblads. I manual focus everything. And I didn't care for any autofocus lenses until I bought this body. And then I was like, oh. Actually, I take that back. On my D7100, I had the Sigma 18 to 35 f1.8 zoom, the art lens. And oh, that thing was really good on autofocus on that camera body. But that was the only other autofocus lens I've ever liked in my entire life. But this one right here, all of the lenses that I've bought for the Sony so far that are meant for it are actually phenomenal at autofocusing on this camera because of the hybrid detection system. That to me is very cool. Speed photography on that camera versus this camera. Oh yeah. Oh no. Photography on this is absolutely phenomenal. The autofocus is silent in movie mode. The lenses do work on this one, but here's why I love Sony. And to me, this is just brilliant. Alright, so I'm going to come around to the back of the camera. Okay, Sony users already know about this, but you see that red right there? That's called peak focusing. And peak focusing allows me to see where my focus is without zooming into it. And the other thing that I have turned on here as well is zebraing. And if you see in the background, I have that set at 100 plus, and so that tells me when I'm blown out, so I can adjust down easily without having to look at the white balance all the time. But I can easily focus in on my coffee cup, or go behind it to the CDs back there in my sweater, or come all the way back to the keyboard. It's just brilliant. And because of that, this revival of all these old school lenses is really making a comeback. And I have got great Nikon AI glass that I absolutely adore, that I've used on every camera ever since then. But because of that, this makes it so much better. If you love shooting gigantic images, this is the camera for you. You know, the resolution's there, the speed isn't there. If you love doing delicate portrait work with an extremely shallow depth of field, this camera is for you. It's half the price of the Nikon D810, but has all the functionality. Alright, now this camera here, if you love to do anything fast, this camera is for you. It's easy to shoot, it's easy to hold, you can go anywhere with it. They are not weatherproof. That's the one thing that you should know. If you do product photography or anything that's in the studio where you need an increased depth of field, this camera is going to be way better than this one. But if you need a shallower depth of field, then obviously this camera. But I shoot primarily advertising photography, so I go back and forth. If I want to really quickly ultra-large landscapes and ultra-large portraits, if you want to print really big. But everything else in the entire world, this camera will do.